Okay, so now you should be on page 85, and we're going to be looking at number 1 first. And it kind of already tells us how we are going to solve it. It actually tells us our first step. So it says, what is 5 times negative 8 plus 3? And it tells me to simplify inside the parentheses first. So that's going to be actually my first step. So you should be copying this down and writing this in your book. So this is step 1, simplify inside the parentheses first, and we are going to use using adding rules. Right? We have to use our adding rules in this case. So if we're looking at the inside, so just the inside, I have a negative 8 plus 3. So I have two different signs. So remembering our adding rules, if we have two different signs, we need to find the difference of the absolute values. So I'm going to take the absolute values, which is 8 minus 3, right? Different signs means to find the difference. So 8 minus 3, which equals 5. And I'm going to keep the sign of the bigger absolute value. So I'm going to keep this negative sign. And then I'm going to bring down my 5 from the outside. So I'm keeping my negative sign for my negative 5. And I bring down this 5. Now I have 5 times negative 5. And then step 2, so after we simplify using the adding rules to get me the negative 5, step 2 is just to multiply. And remember, same sign equals a positive, and different signs equals a negative. So here I have a positive times a negative, so I know my answer is going to be negative. Then what is 5 times 5? 5 times 5 is 25. Okay, so my final answer should be a negative 25. The next one says, what is 5 times negative 8 plus 3 simplified by distributing the 5 first? And that is going to be my first step, so I'm going to highlight it again. That's step 1. Step 1, simplify by distributing the 5 first by multiplying by 5 to each term. Okay, that's important. To each term is important. So I'm just going to rewrite this as 5 times 8, negative 8 plus 3. 5 times negative 8 plus 3. And we're going to distribute by multiplying by 5 to each term. So I'm distributing my 5 times negative 8 plus distribute the 5 to the 3, 5 times 3. Then multiply. Right? This is that multiplying by 5 to each term. Multiply negative 40 plus 15. Then from here, step 2 is to add. Right? Negative 5 plus 15. That's what we have left, so we need to add. We're adding, so we need to remember our adding rules. So I'm going to write them down. Same, if the integers have the same sign, add the absolute value, keep same sign, and if they have different signs, we're going to subtract the absolute values and keep the sign of the bigger absolute value. Right? So different signs, subtract the absolute values and keep the sign of the bigger absolute value. So in this case, I have a negative 40 and I have a positive 15. So I have different signs. So I know I need to subtract. I'm going to use a different color, I think. to show this. Still write this down, subtracting the absolute values, right? 40 minus 15 equals 25. And I'm going to keep the sign of the bigger absolute value. I know that 40 is bigger than 15, so I'm going to keep this negative sign for a negative 25. So if we look at the same problems, right, it's still 5 times negative 8 plus 3, 5 times negative 8 plus 3. We get the same answer, but we solved it 2 different ways. Okay, and number 3, let's look at this one. So it says to simplify inside the brackets first. Now brackets are just going to be like they're going to act as bigger parentheses. So I have step 1, simplify inside the brackets first by combining like signs. So I'm going to combine my like signs here. So I'm going to put all my positives together. So 4 and 7 equals 11. Plus how many negatives do I have? Negative 18. So we can put those in brackets, bring down my negative 5. So now inside, still simplify the inside first. We're still simplifying my brackets first. I have 2 different signs. So same thing up here. Different signs means to subtract the absolute values. So I'm going to take the absolute values and minus them. 18 minus 11 is 7. 18 is bigger than 11, so my answer is going to be negative. And then bring down my negative 5. Negative 5 and a negative 7. So my answer is going to be positive 35. Right, step 2 was to multiply, sorry. Multiply right here, negative times a negative equals a positive. 5 times 7 is 35.